Welcome to the Cloud Pod, where the forecast is always cloudy. We talk weekly about all things AWS, GCP, and Azure. We are your hosts,
Justin,
Jonathan,
Ryan,
and Matthew.
Episode 317, recorded for August 12th, 2025. 99 problems, but a hallucination ain't one of them. Good evening, Matt and Ryan. How you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I like how you sort of whiteboard up the Jay-Z lyric. That was pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, you like that? Yeah.
Who's the proper way to say it?
Proper grammar.
The only way a middle-aged white man can properly say it. Well, good to see you, Ryan. I know you were off in the woods enjoying vacation time, so we're glad to have you back.
I was. Thank you.
Hopefully you found all the beers, all the food, all the fish, whatever you're doing in the woods.
And no bears.
I didn't find all the beers. I came back with beer, which is a problem of planning.
That's weird.
Yeah, and I did.
Very uncouth for you.
I know. I did chase away bears, but
I feel like there's a good story there.
no, that's pretty much the like.
Oh,
They're just very common now in the Tahoe area.
Bears,
yeah.
They're getting very aggressive in general. All right. Well, we have another action-packed week of news. But first up, Microsoft finally completed their merge of GitHub. Apparently, GitHub will lose its operational independence and be integrated into Microsoft's core AI organization, which seems strange, ending its separate CEO structure and that has existed since Microsoft's $7.5 billion acquisition in 2018. The reorganization eliminates the CEO position entirely, with GitHub's leadership team reporting to multiple executives within core AI rather than a single leader, potentially impacting decision-making speed and product direction. The change could affect GitHub's developer-focused culture and remote-first operations that distinguish it from Microsoft's traditional corporate structure. And the integration to core AI suggests Microsoft's plan to more tightly couple GitHub with its AI initiatives, potentially accelerating AI-powered development features, raising concerns about the platform neutrality. Developers and enterprises should monitor how this affects GitHub's roadmap, pricing, and commitment to open source projects, as tighter Microsoft integration historically has led to significant platform changes, which are bad. I am definitely not happy about this because, this is the fear I had 7 years ago when they got bought by Microsoft, was that they were going to destroy it, and I've been pleasantly surprised the last 7 years that Microsoft has kept their dirty hands off of it. And let them be them and do what they do. And they've had good products, good investments. And I feel like they've charted a good course. And now I'm a little nervous for them. So I'm curious to see how this changes.
Yeah, especially with the platform, splitting up to multiple executives. You're now going to have, multiple decisions, trees that you have to get people in the room to make final decisions versus letting the product roadmap kind of stand for itself. So it's no longer, this own little entity inside of Microsoft. It's now in the big behemoth, and God knows how long the decision is going to take to get made.
I mean, I do think it's interesting that I like the idea of sort of developer day-to-day actions and developer how we interface with the world is going to change dramatically. And I do feel like GitHub is pretty well positioned to do that. And I think that's why they're sort of restructuring under this AI thing. I think it's really going to become that whole AI developer ecosystem and the centered around the GitHub and Copilot sort of interface they already built out.
I mean, it's kind of interesting to see, Microsoft still doesn't have, an LLM that can replace ChatGPT and OpenAI's models. So it's going to, I get the idea of moving it in closer to core AI and especially with development tooling being such a huge focus of AI these days. I get the synergy there and why they want to do this, but I also wonder, is it fruitless if they don't have an LLM to really leverage?
Do you think so? I mean, through Copilot, you can leverage every other standard LLM. I don't know if you have to have your own bespoke one to really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you need to either, but I also wonder, what's Microsoft's bigger plan here? Are they creating an LLM? Like, I'm trying to read the tea leaves here, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like, are they in the process of creating an LLM, which I think they are, to compete with ChatGPT? And is this, by bringing this closer to it, like this becomes one of the first party use cases of that new LLM, then that maybe makes sense. And yeah, you still offer the other ones, sure. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I could definitely see them building one that's specific to coding also because of all this.
I doubt it, actually, because everyone else has gone to the more generalized large context models. And so I think it's all going that direction. It started off with the more specialized models in the beginning, but it seems to have, the trend seems to be going the other way.
All right. Well, moving on to AI is how ML makes money, and hopefully Microsoft's going to make their money with GitHub. But Google has said that Jules is now out of public beta. Jules is the worst marketed Google AI coding agent tool that I always forget about because
it's not quite as bad as
it's
Q.
not named Google. That's true. But the Google AI coding agent that operates asynchronously to handle development tasks, now publicly available after processing 148,000 code improvements. Seems pretty low compared to GitHub. During beta testing with thousands of developers, the service does run on Gemini 2.5 Pro's advanced reasoning capabilities, which if those of you who've been using Gemini in the last few weeks probably are cringing at, to create coding plans and generate higher quality code outputs with new features including GitHub issues integration and multimodal support. Google's introducing 3 pricing tiers: a free introductory access, which you'll probably blow through in 5 minutes, Google's AI Pro with 5x higher limits for daily coding, and Google's AI Ultra with 20x limits for intensive multi-agent workflow scale. Where have I seen this model? Oh, Claude. That's right. Claude has the exact same pricing model. This represents a shift towards autonomous coding assistants that can work independently on tasks while developers focus on other work, potentially changing how cloud-based development teams operate. The asynchronous nature allows Jules to handle time-consuming tasks like bug fixes and code improvements without requiring constant developer oversight, which could significantly impact productivity for cloud development projects.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect example of like where GitHub might go, right? Because this already integrates with GitHub, so you communicate with the AI, in issues or pointed at certain issues, or you just in comments. And it's, like I said, it's asynchronous, so it's just running in the background. It's not a chat or an interactive agent conversation. You're sort of like giving it directions and sending it off, and then it's, in theory, doing pull requests. I think we'll see moves towards that where it's less generally interactive. I mean, well, not less, but there'll be the option to run things more asynchronously with AI agent development.
I definitely think you're going to see that, and especially be able to tell it to run during off-peak hours and things like that in the future, where you say, the equivalent to running on spot instances. Sure, you have 10x during 9 to 9 and at 9 to 9, the other half that you get 20x and or whatever the numbers are, and it will slowly kind of churn through all your items. When your developers come in the morning, here's a slew of PRs that the AI tasks, and maybe it's all the small stories or bug fixes that it kind of went through, and hopefully it will help improve your company's efficiency.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interaction model with this is through like an action, so you can have it on an event that happens in GitHub, or like you said, you can have it on a schedule that runs in the middle of the night. It'll just build a list of all the things you said during the day. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. All right. Well, we are finally here, guys. Chat GPT-5 has finally launched, giving us AGI, the world utopia, and the future controlled by Skynet. No, not really.
We really needed a drum roll into this section, I feel like.
Oh, I probably, the drum roll will be good. Next time.
Next time.
Maybe for GPT-6.
Might be better. We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll see. Or maybe we do GPT-5o, as I like to do, but we'll see.
Oh, God, I hope they don't do that again.
GPT-5 introduces a larger model architecture with refined attention mechanisms and multimodal input processing, requiring substantial cloud compute resources for deployment and inference at scale. I mean, my attention was definitely lost in that sense. Enhanced contextual comprehension and faster processing speeds enable more efficient API calls and reduce latency for cloud-based AI services, potentially lowering costs for your business. Technical improvements in training efficiency could reduce the computational overhead for fine-tuning models on cloud platforms, making custom AI deployments more accessible to small organizations. Healthcare, education, and creative industries can leverage GPT-5 through cloud APIs for applications like medical documentation, personalized learning systems, and content-generated workflows. And OpenAI's safety measures and ethical deployment guidance will likely influence cloud provider policies for hosting and serving large language models, affecting compliance requirements for those enterprise users. Not only did they launch GPT-5, they also said it's the best coding language model ever, with GPT-5 representing the next iteration of OpenAI's language model series, likely offering improved language understanding and generation capabilities that developers can integrate via APIs into cloud-based apps. The model would provide enhanced performance benchmarks compared to GPT-4, potentially including better context handling, reduced hallucinations, and more accurate responses for enterprise cloud deployments. And developer integration features may include new API capabilities, updated SDKs, and code examples for implementing GPT-5 across your organization. I, in fact, implemented GPT-5 just this week because my bot that helps with show notes can't use Claude to summarize the GPT or OpenAI blog because they block it, those bastards. So I had to use OpenAI to check OpenAI, which was fine. But it was nice to integrate it. Super simple, just like Claude and all the others. But in general, it's out. What do you guys think? Is it change the world? AGI is here, guys. Or not here yet, but soon, they say.
They really tout this as AGI? I haven't heard that.
No, they're not touting as AGI, but they're saying it's closer to the road to AGI. There was a lot of speculation that their next big model would be AGI, and this one was not. So,
yeah,
and it's only for all the benchmarks, it's only marginally better than all the other LLMs that are out there, like slightly better than Claude, slightly better than Grok. So it's everyone's getting very incremental updates these days on their big, huge model updates.
Yeah, I mean it's on one hand, I think it's good. They keep getting better. I don't think they're life changing. I'm kind of afraid of AGI, and I'm putting my head in the sand about it right now. But I hope this is better. I haven't had a chance to use it. I didn't read all that great news about it. But we'll see, I guess. It's kind of weird that they, the limits of what you can access.
Yeah, I haven't had much time to play with it yet. I mean, it sounds good, but from what I've read and what everyone I hear is kind of saying about it, it doesn't feel like it's going to change the world as the way all these initial releases made it sound like.
Well, Wall Street definitely felt like every SaaS company was totally screwed by GPT-5, as most SaaS companies took a pretty good bath in their stock price. From everyone basically going like, "Oh my God, GPT-5 is going to replace all these SaaS apps. You don't need SaaS anymore. Just build on API and AI. Like, what do you need?" I'm like, "Yeah, compliance, security, everything else that you need around it."
Details. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, just minor details. We'll definitely talk about some of the fallout of GPT-5 here in a minute, but just so you know, because GPT-5 got announced, and this also came 2 days after GPT-5 open source came out, which we talked about last week on the show, everybody wants to let you know that they also offer either the Open GPT or GPT-5, starting out with Snowflake, who says the Cortex AI makes GPT-5 available to you directly from inside of Snowflake. So great. And then follow that up with Apple is apparently going to be integrating GPT-5 into iOS 26, iPadOS 26, and macOS 26. So if you enjoy having all those summaries of your news articles being incorrectly summarized by Apple Intelligence, it's only going to get more intelligent with GPT-5, apparently. And then DigitalOcean also announcing GPT-5 on top of DigitalOcean Gradient, which they just announced general availability last week on the show. So, lots of people getting integration GPT-5, which is also interesting because it's not just Microsoft getting access to it, it's everybody else as well, either through the open source models or through partnerships with OpenAI directly. Very interesting.
I mean, I feel like this is going to be weeks of it coming down of just people talking about it. Hey, we now have it too. And, I feel like if everybody's getting it, great, you're doing kind of the needful, here of, hey, we're now integrating with the latest and greatest thing, not just sticking with the old thing. It's kind of going to be a checkbox of all the, hey, we now have this, cool. Why? And it's going to be more of a question on the flip side of, in a month, hey, why don't you have GPT-5? Where is it in your roadmap more than anything?
Exactly. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing, a lot of new innovations, hopefully driven by our friends at OpenAI and ChatGPT-5. Not AGI yet. Still hoping for that someday. Maybe not. Maybe when I retire, you can give me AGI then. I need a few more years of work. Well, not everyone has been happy with GPT-5. Lots of negative press after the initial buzz and excitement wore off. First of all, for those of you using the ChatGPT API, you'll find out that you've been restricted to accessing all of those models you used to love, like GPT-4o. Which is only available to now developer APIs, causing user backlash over losing their preferred conversational AI experience. And they care about that because the GPT-5 chat experience is not always as nice because it feels more sterile or corporate compared to GPT-4o, with complaints about reduced creativity and broken workflows that were optimized for the previous model. This highlights, of course, a key challenge for cloud AI services, maintaining consistency and user experience while upgrading models. The situation demonstrates the importance of model versioning and user choice in AI platforms. Unfortunately, I don't think there's enough GPUs in the world to support multiple versions of GPT. which is probably why they went down this path. But I do think it's kind of a miss on GPT-5's part that they didn't, give some window of time for people to move off of 4.0, test their workflows, address any issues they need to do from moving from 4 to 5, especially when you consider the grounding work you're doing, everything else you're doing to make those LLMs work well for your business. To have it just ripped out from underneath you overnight is sort of a problem. Sam Altman has even issued a public apology and saying that they're going to reverse some of the decision around abandoning some of the previous ChatGPT models, but I don't think they've come back quite fully yet.
Yeah, I mean, telling people that you immediately no longer have access feels like a very big, harsh step to these things. And, like you said, businesses have built workflows and, products around these things, and immediately saying, hey, it's no longer available, is one of the reasons why all the cloud vendors have these tools. And therefore you're able to kind of control a lot more. And that's kind of the fear of going straight to, OpenAI directly for all these things versus doing it in a cloud provider, bypassing all the security and compliance and other stuff. But, this company doesn't have a lot of experience with enterprises. So this kind of, to me, shows a way that they don't have that in-depth experience because they ripped out something that people have been using for a year or two with zero notice, really.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to learn that mistake the hard way, right?
Yep.
I'm sure a lot of companies are very unhappy, though.
Yeah. I bet they are.
Yeah. I would be unhappy if I had a product built on top of GPT 4.0 and all of a sudden it got ripped out.
You could go the Microsoft / AWS route, never deprecate anything until you can 100% guarantee no one's using it.
Who needs to deprecate things?
I don't think there's enough capacity. I guess that's the problem with AI.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Moving on to cloud tools. Matt found a tool that he was kind of excited about this week going open source, and that tool is called Buttercup. The Trails of Bits, the blog, has the article here for us. Trail of Bits has open source Buttercup, their AI-powered cyber reasoning system that won second place in DARPA's AI Cyber Challenge, making automated vulnerability discovery and patching accessible to individual developers on standard laptops with 8 cores, 16 gigs of RAM, and 100 gigs of storage. Who has 100 gigs of storage if you're a developer? The system combines AI augmented fuzzing with multi-agent patch generation using 7 distinct AI agents to create and validate fixes with leveraging third-party LLMs like OpenAI or Anthropic. Buttercup integrates OSS fuzz and cluster fuzz for vulnerability discovery, tree setter, and code query for static analysis, and provides a complete orchestration layer with web UI and Signos telemetry. Standalone version can find and patch vulnerabilities under 10 minutes on sample code, offering cloud-native deployment through containerized pods and making enterprise-grade security automation available to smaller teams and projects. The release represents a shift in AI-powered security tools from competition-scale systems to practical developer tools, potentially reducing the barrier to entry for automated vulnerability management in CI/CD.
I mean, I just think it's interesting that you're able to now hopefully shift, as we have been in security and DevOps for years, moving stuff to the left. If you build this into the pipeline, or have a developer run it, for lack of a better term, as a pre-commit hook or something like that on their laptops, they can get a lot more of these vulnerabilities in theory solved before they even hit any of the later tools like your DAS scanning tools or your SAS or your SAT, whatever the letters are, dynamic static code analysis and dependency analysis. You can start to find more of these things earlier. So I think it's just another tool in a true, security-minded organization's tool belt that here's kind of another thing that you can do that will help solve these problems so you can find them later on down the line.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I do like anything that's going to go and detect the vulnerabilities and then also try to fix them, on behalf of developers. I haven't used any of these tools, and so it's an interesting fit with the existing pipelines, like you said. So I'm a little stymied by that. What's the differentiator between these and some of the stuff you can do with GitHub Actions and certain things like that. It's definitely something I'll read up and play around with and see if I can figure it out. It's pretty cool, though.
Very, very cool. All right, moving to AWS. Aurora Serverless v2 is now available, delivering up to 30% performance improvement on platform version 3, making it viable for demanding workloads that previously required provision instances. The service now scales from 0 to 256 Aurora capacity units, where each ACU provides approximately 2 gigs of memory plus corresponding CPU and networking resources. Existing clusters require manual upgrade via stop, start, or blue-green deployments to access the performance gains, on new clusters automatically launch on the latest platform. The 30% performance boost combined with automatic scaling addresses the common serverless database challenge of balancing cost efficiency with consistent performance for variable workloads. Available across all AWS regions, including GovCloud, the update strengthens Aurora's position against competitors.
I wonder if they just kind of, hey, we moved to the latest version of Graviton processors and things along those lines, or if they, or if this is in combination with other backend improvements they made over time. And given that it's not for like specifically one or the other, like MySQL or Postgres, I feel like it's probably like platform level optimizations they did. But that's just kind of my gut.
Yeah, I mean, that seems reasonable. I will tell you, we're running Aurora serverless v2 on platform version 2, and I tried to get to platform version 3 about 6 times now. And I have failed to do so every time. Like, there is no actual way to stop and start a cluster. You can restart it. I've restarted it multiple times. I almost went down the blue-green path, but then I was like, when you do blue-green, it's not just a temporary thing. You now end up running blue-green forever, which I don't want to do because I don't have that kind of money to burn. But this is not easy to get onto, and I wish they would just give you a button that says, please stop and move me to platform version 3, and then restart my database.
Yeah, I'm very confused by the Aurora serverless just because I'm still running a V1 workload because trying to use serverless V2 when it came out was also nigh impossible, and it didn't scale down to 0, so you were paying for it.
Yeah, it does now scale down to 0. That is one of the advantages, because before it was only 0.5, which is not very expensive. But yeah, you definitely were paying more for it previously.
Yeah, and I think I can't remember, it was like 6 months ago or when they released this, it scaled down to 0, and it's been on my to-do item ever since to get to V2. So now I guess they're about to make it not my choice, which is fine. So I keep getting the angry emails from AWS.
Wait till you're one of the last 5 customers and they have pro services do it for you. That'll be nice.
I don't think I'm big enough. I think that they'll take my tens of dollars a month account and be like, nah.
But Ryan, you're Ryan from the Cloud Pod. They're gonna wine and dine you a little bit for this.
God, I hope so. I would love to be treated with respect I don't deserve.
We all give ourselves so much credit on the podcast here.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's move on to minimizing AI hallucinations. Amazon Bedrock Guardrails is saying they can now include automated reasoning checks that use mathematical logic and formal verification to validate AI-generated content against domain knowledge, achieving up to a 99% validation accuracy for detecting hallucinations. A significant improvement over probabilistic methods. But it just shows you all that I have no idea how AI works, because I don't understand how you're using math to solve this problem, but okay. The feature supports documents up to 80,000 tokens, approximately 100 pages, including automated test scenario generation, and allows users to encode business rules into formal logic policies that can validate whether AI responses comply with established guidelines and regulations. PwC is already using this for utility outage managed systems where AI-generated response plans must comply with strict regulatory requirements. A system automatically validates protocols, creates severity-based workflows, and ensures responses meet defined targets. Pricing is based on text process volume, and the service is available in most of the regions that AI is available in. Policy creation process involves uploading natural language documents like PDFs or business rules, which are then translated into formal logic with rules, variables, and custom types that can be tested and validated for deployment in production guardrails. Also means that you're using up a bunch of your context to basically have the AI constantly get those rules beat into its head. And so if you've ever seen some of these before, they're like, do not escape the LM, do not do this, do not do that. Like, they're very strict in bold normally, all caps yelling at the AI, don't do this thing. So I'm sure that's how these all look as well.
Yeah. It is kind of crazy, the idea that the reasoning checks are just using mathematical logic. And I mean, it makes sense when I remember, because I barely know how AI works, or at least know how the headline would look. But, it's predictive text, right? So the models are giving you a prediction table, and it just generates the most likely next thing. How that turns into being checked with math is, I'm really glad there's smart people in the world who have figured that out. But it does seem kind of cool that they're doing it that way. It does seem a little awkward that it's the token method and the rules engine, like you said, and how it's applied in the application using the AI. But, yeah.
I just assume math can solve all life's problems. I'm not smart enough to understand how it applies. And I just accept that fact. And my life is a lot simpler as I'm more naive about it.
Mhm.
Until we have a British person back here to explain to us how 1 plus 1 equals 99% accuracy verification.
Yeah, no, for sure. I subscribe to the Python import belief of math, and I just import math.
I agree with that.
Well, I'm very excited about this next feature. Amazon ECS now is fully integrated into CloudWatch Log's live tail directly, eliminating the need to switch between consoles for real-time log monitoring during container troubleshooting and deployment investigations, which is 99% of my time. The live
Yes.
tail panel stays visible when navigating the ECS console, allowing operators to monitor logs while checking metrics or making configuration changes, addressing a common workflow interruption. Access is straightforward through the Logs tab on any ECS service or task. Details page a simple open CloudWatch Logs live tail button, making real-time debugging more accessible for containerized apps. This integration reduces context switching from common ECS operations like investigating deployment failures and monitoring container health, improving operational efficiency for teams, managing containerized workloads. Available in all commercial regions with standard CloudWatch Logs pricing applying to the live tail feature usage.
I love that ECS is getting improvements, and like I do think that the improvements they're making are differentiating themselves from Kubernetes and EKS. So, like, I think that's, I mean, this is great. Like, if you've ever rolled out a new task version, watched it deploy out, like, it's painful. Like, making sure everything's going well and trying to debug.
I thought you were going to just say ever deployed a container ever.
Yeah, well, life is pain. So, like, if you start with on the second rung.
I mean, this always felt like something that I wish it had, and getting the logs, not just being able to tail it, felt like something that I've wanted forever. And I have felt like CloudWatch has been slowly adding this tail feature through the entire tool belt. So it doesn't surprise me that they've kind of added it here. But God, I wish this was here years ago when I did my first ECS deployments.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like it's crazy how complicated some of those things have been over the years. All right, AWS Lambda is now fixing another problem, which is that I didn't like to use in CDK. They're at least now giving me native GitHub actions for automated function deployment, eliminating the need for custom scripts and manual AWS CLI commands that previously made CI/CD pipelines complex and error-prone and a nightmare to troubleshoot, which is why a bot I made started in serverless and then rapidly got changed to a container because I said absolutely not. The new deploy Lambda function action handles both a zip file and container image deployments automatically, supporting OIDC authentication for secure IAM integration, and includes configuration options for runtime, memory, timeout, and environmental variables. This addresses a significant pain point where developers had to write repetitive boilerplate code across repositories, manually package artifacts, and configure IAM permissions for each Lambda deployment from GitHub. And yes, it sucked. The action includes practical features like dry run mode for validation without changes and S3-based deployment support for larger zip packages, making it suitable for both development testing and your production deployment. Available in all commercial regions where Lambda operates, this integration reduces onboarding time for new developers and decreases deployment errors by providing a declarative configuration approach with GitHub Action workflows.
Yeah, I love this with every bone in my body. Like, this is just an easy button for development where I can't think of the amount of like scripting, like bash scripting I've done, because I'm also not a SDK fan, but trying to get, build pipelines to do what I want. Like, this is definitely something that'll make that a lot easier. And I really like the authentication mechanism that they're putting in there, where it's doing a token exchange from your GitHub action pipeline, which is cool.
It's been around for a long time.
Yeah, it's nice. It's like it takes about 10 minutes of research to figure out how to set up the OIDC connector, but once it's there, it's like literally just put this key into your secrets of GitHub. And
how many times have you set it up? Because I feel like every time I set it up, which is only like once a year, I start it and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna follow this guide. 20 minutes of swearing later, okay, it finally worked. Like, there's a rage level in setting it up.
You see, I've set it up about 7 times in the last 6 months, all using AI.
Yeah, there you go. I'd say it's probably been about a year and a half since I've set it up last. Though I'm probably going to be setting it up shortly. So,
yeah, so it's definitely AI makes it much, much easier to set up, let me tell you. But yeah, no, I have also followed the guide, I think, once before that. And yes, it took me several hours to figure out what the hell they were talking about because their documentation makes no sense. But yes. DynamoDB is providing console to code using Amazon Q Developer to automatically generate infrastructure as code from console actions supporting AWS CDK in TypeScript, Python, and Java, plus CloudFormation in YAML or JSON formats. They haven't killed the JSON format yet. Jesus. This feature addresses the common workflow where a developer prototype in the console, then manually recreate configuration as code, reducing the time spent on infrastructure automation setups. The integration leverages generative AI to translate recorded console actions to production-ready code templates, streamlining the path from experimentation to automated deployment. Available now in commercial regions, the positions DynamoDB alongside other AWS services adopting console-to-cloud functionality, part of AWS's broader push to simplify infrastructure automation.
I promise you that CloudFormation just takes that YAML and converts it to JSON before execution.
Oh, I'm sure it does.
Yeah,
but
I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure it
have
does
to,
too.
They'll never kill that.
which is fine, but don't make me have to look at it. That's it gives me like it makes me triggers me. I don't want to look at JSON CloudFormation ever again.
Oh, I hate YAML, so like I'll do JSON.
I don't like YAML either, but it was way better than CloudFormation code on JSON. So
yeah, the IDEs are better now. They catch all my missing semicolons.
They do help. Yes, that's true.
No, I mean I'm dubious, but I think I like this. I like console to code use cases because it makes something that was historically non-repeatable repeatable. This feels a little heavy-handed in the sense that it's like DynamoDB, it's AI, generative AI to generate infrastructure as code configuration. It feels a little weird, but
I mean, I one of my very first attempts using AI with AWS was I said, take my poorly infrastructure as coded environment and use the AWS CLI to walk it, and then write the Terraform code and import all the state, and it did that.
Yeah,
that was one of my first projects. So, like, you laugh about using AI for that purpose, but I did the exact thing because I was like, I'd like to make this more documented and more scalable, and so that was where I started. And then I refactored all the code, also using AI to help out.
Well, it's the console part that where I'm confused by, right? Like it's taking clicks and doing that walkthrough, which I think is, I don't know.
I mean, that's what it says. I don't know if it said that after you've done the prototype, you use this tool. It's too late by that point. The clicks I assume it's just going to scan the environment and understand what you've configured and then generate code out of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I assume it's just hitting APIs and giving you code. And it's normally, in my opinion, a good starting point for code and probably overcomplicated too for what you probably need.
Oh, I mean, it's like the Terraform code that generated like no module usage.
Yeah.
Even though it's like defining, 25 servers in an auto-scaling group, you're like, why are you doing that? Like, you could do the module. Like, that's dumb.
But it's a good starting point for people. And that's kind of the way I always view these tools. There's been like the ones that scanned, back in the day that auto made your CloudFormation, which is what this is. And then there's been other ones that generate your Terraform. And you're like, cool, it gives me enough that I can look at it and make a human choice and then put it into where I need it to be. Because the Azure is the same thing in the console. You could just I think for most resources, you can go in and say, dump me the Terraform for it, or the ARM template or the bicep, which is nice because I don't need to look at the Terraform documentation for everything, because unlike AWS's, which is probably better than the actual AWS documentations, Amazon's is pretty terrible. Azure's is pretty terrible. So you at least can get, okay, I need these things set in this way. And then you can kind of just iterate over it. So you kind of knock out the first 80% of your starting block of getting it up and running. And because you have all those, there's this one other thing that's behind the scene that's set to true that I never realized. And it's going to bite me in the ass 6 months from now.
That is the real advantage of using AI and these things, because remember the old days of when it was built in, it would all hard code the regions and it was just straight giving you the resource as a block in on an island. Yeah, and then now AI will take that and add that context, and so it'll turn that into a variable automatically and generate a lot more than just that standard resource. So that is kind of neat.
Yeah, I used it with my least favorite Azure resource of app gateways recently. Really hate app gateways, and it's one Terraform API call, so you can't have the equivalent of target groups or anything else. Anyway, we're gonna bypass before I go on a side rant.
I mean, I don't know why you don't want to do that.
Oh no, manage the target and all the configuration in the same way, and and it's same as the front door, so that you can't roll it or version it at all. You have to just do a hard replace. No, it seems fine. I don't see the problem.
the problem is that normally when you do anything with it, it actually reboots the whole damn thing. So a simple, hey, let's add an identity to this causes your whole app gateway to go down for 5 minutes. And, if you're running a large number of units, because obviously there's servers underneath the app gateway that you can hard code the number of things in there. It can take a while to do 40, 50, 70 servers. So, that makes things even take longer. So yeah, they're doing a lot to the app gateway. It's just like for such a key critical resource, I just don't want it to be IIS under the hood, which is what I assume it is.
Yeah.
On to good tools.
Well, I mean, good for you and I, Matt. I'm pretty sure that the day that Ryan discovers this in production, he's going to go actually postal. So
it's already
AWS,
there. He just hasn't found it yet.
Yeah, exactly.
AWS EKS hybrid nodes now integrate with Tailscale to simplify network activity between on-premise infrastructure and AWS hosted Kubernetes control planes. This eliminates complex VPN configurations by using Tailscale's peer-to-peer mesh networking with WireGuard encryption for direct, secure connections. The solution addresses the key challenge of hybrid Kubernetes deployments by allowing organizations to manage their control plane in AWS while keeping worker nodes on-premise or at edge locations. Tailscale acts as a subnet router within the VPC, advertising routes between the remote pod network, like 1080.00/16, and node addresses 192.168.169.0/24. Implementation requires installing Tailscale on hybrid nodes, deploying a subnet router EC2 instance in your VPC, and updating the route tables to direct traffic through the Tailscale network interface. The setup supports both Calico and Cilium CNIs with per node /32 addressing for optimal routing. This approach reduces operational complexity compared to traditional site-to-site VPNs or AWS Direct Connect, making hybrid Kubernetes deployments more accessible for organizations with existing on-premise infrastructure. Tailscale is available through AWS Marketplace with standard EC2 instance costs for the subnet router. Key considerations include planning non-overlapping site ranges, enabling IP forwarding on the subnet router, and potentially deploying multiple subnet routers across availability zones for high availability. So yeah, it's not only is it a terrible security hole for Ryan to deal with, it's also not well integrated into AWS in any way, shape, or form.
No.
Just use the EC2 instance. It's fine. What's the problem? Routing tables.
The schizophrenia personas, like the security guy's upset, but not as much as the SRE guy. Like, what is more simple about this? Like, you've got a router on an EC2 box on top of your VPC and the 9 routing layers that are beneath VPCs, and this is somehow simpler? Like, I don't think so. It's just moving it into developer space, which is just bypassing the network at that infrastructure. And I don't know that it's actually better.
And that someone's going to do it just to one subnet for the routing, and they're going to see oddities in production.
It's going to be a huge complexity because it's going to be different edge case. And I don't, if everything is using a mesh peer-to-peer communication network, great, right? But if you're doing this on top of VPC, that's on top of Transit Gateway, that already has Direct Connect Gateway and all these things, and you're just doing it to sort of bypass your network infrastructure, boo, don't do that. Keep it simple. This is going to be hard to fix when it breaks, and it's going to break.
Why would you say that?
What do you mean it doesn't going to break?
Because it's routing, because it's network routing. It always breaks. BGP peering is great until it's not.
Yeah.
It's going to go great. I'm going to set this up for you, Ryan, at work.
So.
This just reminds me back of the original EC2 days before Direct Connects and everything else arrived. I feel like I'm dating myself here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I set up an OpenSwan server. Oh, yeah.
OpenSwan connected to the on-prem because whatever the Palo Alto Fortinet didn't support it. And you had an auto healing group that had a boot up script, a user data script that would boot up and automatically change the subnets in the route table, the routes to point to it. But wait till you run into that route table, API limit, because that thing was low as hell. It was a minute, 5 per minute. You couldn't update more than that. So God forbid you ever had more than 5 routes. You had to put a ton of sleeps in it. Yeah. But this is old school AWS, I feel like.
I mean, yeah, the biggest difference is that it says it advertises routes, right? Otherwise, it's exactly what you're saying. And except for a cluster mode of nodes, which I assume is what those hybrid nodes are. So it's somewhere in between, a bunch of OpenSwan VPN servers and a proxy. Fine, I guess. but yeah, I don't recommend this.
Ryan does not approve, guys.
I don't. No, I don't.
for the SRE or the security hat.
Yeah.
What about the DevOps hat of move fast, move quick, build, developers build and run and maintain it?
Yeah.
No,
well, not in production. Fine.
the SRE overrides it. Got it.
Yeah. Do whatever you want in your lower environments. Fine.
Yeah. Production, absolutely not. Well, if you are looking to bankrupt your company, I have the feature for you this week. As CloudWatch now enables automatic VPC flow logs across your entire AWS organization through telemetry config rules, eliminating manual setup for each VPC and ensuring consistent network monitoring coverage. Organizations can scope the rules by entire org, specific accounts, or resource tags, allowing DevOps teams to automatically enable flow logs for production VPCs or other critical infrastructure based on tagging strategies. The feature leverages AWS config service link recorders to discover matching resources and applies to both existing and newly created VPCs, preventing monitoring gaps as infrastructure scales. Customers pay AWS config pricing for configuration items, plus CloudWatch vended logs pricing for flow log ingestion, making cost predictable based on VPC count and log volume. Really? Available in 16 commercial regions, this addresses a common compliance and security requirement. I'm sure it does.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. It's not going to bankrupt anyone because this has already been built into NIST controls and SOC controls every which way to Sunday. Flow logs are already enabled. This is just making it easier to define it by tagging, which I really like, actually. So because it's not just like one click, everyone gets flow logs, you're actually defining like specific accounts or by specific tags on the VPC. And I think that's, a good way to do it. So it's just making whatever poor soul has to go through and configure these things so that they're generating, the evidence, all this logging data you don't actually need, but have to have for compliance requirements. Just making their job easier.
I would say the amount of times I've actually looked at flow logs in my career can probably be counted on one hand. And most of the time I would still just enable it at the individual NIC level and pipe it to CloudWatch logs so I could see it quicker than trying to dump it into anywhere else and then try to parse it because there's too much data always.
Yeah, no, agreed. And, and then how many times have I been let down by the data that's in flow logs and then just had to run Wireshark anyway? So like,
I just got mad at Athena. I'm not gonna lie. I just got mad at Athena because even though I followed the guide, it still doesn't work.
Yeah, the table structure isn't what it actually is because it's been 15 minutes. The docs are wrong. Yeah, no, this is where like I said, the schizophrenia kicks in because like I'm a security engineer who's enforcing everyone to flow logs in their environments, but it's also like I've never used them in 20 years, so it's like. It's
been 20 years. Don't want to do that math.
Yeah, old. We're old.
I mean, look, like you said, schizophrenia here. From a compliance standpoint, forcibly to be able to tell the auditors, no, I guarantee you this is done. We've done it here. Easy enough to say. I've done it with enough other things where I just say, if it's not done, it's Microsoft's fault or it's AWS's fault because we did it here. And this is what they said it will do. And most auditors just go, okay, but a reality actuality point of view, it's kind of like on Azure, for our NIST control is SQL Server audit logs. How many times does anybody actually look at the SQL Server audit logs?
Not if they can help it.
But I have them enabled. Guarantee you.
Yeah, you have to. How else are you going to verify that your transactions are static and exactly what you? Oh yeah, that's awful.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that.
There are a lot of cloud cost management tools out there, but only Archera provides cloud commitment insurance. It sounds fancy, but it's really simple. Archera gives you the cost savings of a 1 or 3 year AWS savings plan with a commitment as short as 30 days. If you don't use all the cloud resources you've committed to, they will literally put the money back in your bank account to cover the difference. Other cost management tools may say they offer commitment insurance, but remember to ask, will you actually give me my money back? Archera will. Click the link in the show notes to check them out on the AWS Marketplace.
All right, let's move on to GCP. Google's launching Gemini CLI GitHub Actions, a free AI coding assistant that automates issue triage, pull request reviews, and on-demand development tasks with simple Gemini CLI mentions in GitHub repositories. The tool provides enterprise-grade security through workload identity federation for credential-less authentication, command allow listing for granular control, and open telemetry integration for complete observability of all AI actions. Available in beta with generous free quotas for Google AI Studio users with support for Vertex AI and Gemini Code Assist standard and enterprise tiers, positioning it as a direct competitor to GitHub's Copilot workflow automation feature. 3 built-in workflows handle intelligent issue labeling and prioritization, automated code review feedback, and delegated coding tasks like writing tests or implementing bug fixes based on issue descriptions. The open source nature allows teams to customize workflows or create new ones, with Google using the tool internally to manage contributions to the Gemini CLI project, which clearly explains why the Gemini CLI has gone to hell in the last 2 weeks, because it's fixing itself.
Yeah, I mean, I like that this is also directly competing with Jules. It's the same. It's very similar, without all the polish. In fact, now I'm worried that I was confusing features between the two of them when we were talking about Jules earlier. But yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the CLI interaction via the terminal of either Cloud Code or Gemini CLI. So I'm a little skeptical to even starting. But if it works in your workflow, it's just as good as built into the IDE. So go nuts.
Google's introducing specialized AI agents for data teams, including data engineering agent for pipeline automation, data science agent for autonomous analytical workflows, and enhanced conversational analytic agent with code interpreter that can execute Python code for complex business questions beyond SQL capabilities. I mean, we all were silent when they came for the DevOps engineers. We were all silent when they came for the SQL engineers, but are we going to remain silent when they take out the ML ops people?
No, I'm going to throw a party. Those people have been screwing up the data of my data lakes for how long? No, this is awesome. Now it'll be screwed up, but it'll be done by a computer.
It'll be done by something I control because I still don't know what I'm doing.
It'll be my fault now. Sorry. I did.
No, it'll be good. Look, it's slowly getting creep into every world. We saw it with, Microsoft last year releasing the AI, automated for SRE. You're seeing it across the board where agents, even though they are more generalized, are being able to be targeted at specific workloads and, specific like personas. And having that ability to have that specific persona comes up is going to be good for those small and medium businesses that don't have that ML ops team or that SQL person. And when they can at least start to leverage it and, move their business along. Is it going to be perfect? No, but it's a good starting point.
Yeah. And the reality is those ML ops people aren't going anywhere. They're just going to use these tools. Like, that's because you're going to need that sort of expertise and understanding of the inner workings down below, or you're going to end up getting really strange results, right, in your data. So I think it's just going to be an enablement for the people that are doing data science and day to day, and for those ML ops people. At least I hope so.
I mean, I hope so. It helps, and they can leave all the DevOps people alone who are tired of them asking for more and more big, data bricks. So.
Yeah, right.
More bricks.
Give us more data environments with more data tools. Like, no, God.
Just no, here's the AI. Go create your own.
Yeah, take your notebook and go away.
Yeah. Yep. Speaking of notebooks, AI first collab notebooks in BigQuery and Vertex AI are featuring, brings the AI first capabilities with a data science agent that automates that end-to-end workflow from data exploration to model evaluation. This service competes directly with SageMaker's Studio Code Editor and Azure's machine learning notebook experience, but currently available in preview in US and Asia regions with expansion planned for other Google Cloud regions. The key use cases include data scientists automating repetitive ML tasks, analysts creating visualization of deep library knowledge, and the teams meeting to quickly prototype and iterate on models, and integrating with BigQuery pipelines will allow scheduled notebook runs and multi-step DAG creation, making it practical for production workflows. Sure. Okay. So glad to see more notebooks.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's one of those things where I hated it, and then I started using it, and right, fine, I get it. And I do think that there's goodness in here, and I think a lot of the success of Databricks and Snowflake comes from from people not really having any other options for running these things. And I think the native tools like SageMaker and BigQuery are now, they're becoming competitive in that space with these things, and it's a lot easier for them to add integrations and pull data from Vertex and have that operate directly on BigQuery. So, well, it's interesting. I think it's cool. As someone who doesn't want to go through a procurement process and get yet another tool, I really get excited when I get more functionality in my cloud native tools. So I'm pretty stoked about this.
Well, Google Cloud Compliance Manager is entering public preview to automate FedRAMP authorization processes, reducing manual evidence collection and targeting faster federal cloud deployments through integration with the FedRAMP 20X pilot program. The service automates compliance validation for FedRAMP 20X key security indicators, or KSIs, and provides machine-readable evidence, moving away from traditional narrative-based requirements that typically slow down federal authorization processes. Google partnered with Stack Armor for proof of concept demonstrations and Coalfire, a FedRAMP 3PAO, for independent validation, positioning Compliance Manager as a native platform solution rather than a third-party add-on. This addresses a significant pain point for federal contractors and agencies who often spend months or years achieving FedRAMP authorization, with general availability of FedRAMP 20X support planned for later this year. Announcement follows recent FedRAMP high authorizations for Agent Assist, Looker, and Vertex AI Vector Search, demonstrating Google's broader push into federal cloud services alongside competitors AWS and Azure, who have dominated the government space.
Yep, definitely. I mean, anytime you're automating compliance evidence generation, I am excited, right? Even before I got into the security space, like just having to do screenshots and being on the other end of that, having generated evidence is just awful. And so I am excited by the promise of Compliance Manager, because it is something, it's a tool that you can give directly to your internal audit team. They can define the rules. They can define, I'm sure they'll need some hand holding of where certain things live from your, people that know the production environment. But once it's set up, it's done. Like the evidence is always there on demand when they need it. The monitoring dashboards quickly alert people when stuff's out of compliance. And that's way more secure in my opinion than, once a year collecting a whole bunch of screenshots of your console configuration, making sure you have a clock and screen. Like it just, like it's much better. System generated evidence, yo.
I mean, there's a lot of other tools that do this too that will kind of look at it, because somehow in my day job, I've also taken a lead role in our compliance team. My first thing there was like you just said, collecting these things once a year is really useless and makes me upset when I do it, because it's like, cool, I can provide you the screenshot, but how does that tell the auditor in reality that 3 days ago this was set up or 6 days ago it was set up? So to me, that's not really useful. And there's a bunch of other ones out there that will let you kind of do it, not just in Google, Microsoft, or AWS, but does it at a higher level across orgs, and cross all your tool sets, which is kind of nice.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking kind of at that, there are other tools, but they get real pricey real fast. But I don't know enough about this, FedRAMP 20X. It sounds like it's more of like an automated process.
No,
it's
just different rules. It's just different rules.
It's basically the government saying it's too hard to get FedRAMP. We want to level the playing field, and so they've changed the rules, but made them more confusing because they haven't actually provided clarifications for most of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the promise of better, but yet no reality of it yet.
Yeah,
got it.
Now you take away the program management office, which were the people that were sort of shepherding the certifications through the process. So get rid of those people, and then change all the rules, and then let everyone figure it out. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's very appropriate for this administration to kick it off, and the level of planning and detail that has come through it. So,
I mean, in general, I'm for 20X, right? Like, I do believe.
Yeah, no, I'm for it too.
I do believe that what they're trying to do is the right thing, because it's impossible to get a SaaS application federally authorized with the old rules.
And in fairness, like it has been going. They've been working on this for a lot longer than just this administration. It's been years in the making. But for those who are in the middle of the process, like maybe my day job, it's very much a pain in the butt that it's not more clear. So and it feels like shifting sand under your feet.
Mm-hmm.
So Google Cloud SQL now offers enhanced backups through integration with their backup and DR service, providing immutable, logically air-gapped backup vaults managed separately from source projects. This addresses a critical gap where database backups could be compromised if the entire project was deleted or attacked. The feature supports flexible retention policies from days to decades with hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly backup schedules, and backups are protected with retention locks and zero trust access policies, making them truly immutable for compliance requirements. Available in preview for Cloud SQL Enterprise and Enterprise Plus editions, this positions Google competitively against RDS automated backups, and the key differentiator is the complete separation of backups from the source project infrastructure. The implementation requires 3 simple steps: create a backup vault, define a backup plan, and apply to Cloud SQL instances. It's not that easy, but it's a nice dream. Early adopters like Square Enix and JFrog highlight the value for gaming, DevOps, and regulated industries where data protection against project-level failures is critical. A centralized management dashboard simplifies compliance reporting and monitoring across multiple database instances.
I mean, I do like the structure of this, right? It's very similar to, long-term storage in S3, which I am. Glacier. Wow. It's getting too late. Where you're setting up a vault that's actually a virtual construct of something that's outside of your control. And I think in these days with ransomware and needing to protect that, like I do really like this separation. If you can productize it, make it really easy. So I do like this because of all the separation that you can create, yet it's still in your control in terms of like the number of rules and retention that you have.
Yeah, the ransomware piece is really the big one here of having that backup be isolated and separate. So if your primary does get, and you do have, I assume Google Cloud SQL has the equivalent of point in time recovery for X number of days.
Yeah, there's a backup manager service.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you miss that window or anything else like that, you have that ability to kind of roll back to that at least point in time. Just, always need to be careful of cost when you go implement these things.
Yeah, I mean, this is part of that point in time snapshot. Well, this is just another backup option of that same sort of ecosystem in GCP, which is cool.
Google's launching the Looker MCP server, enabling AI applications like chatbots and custom agents directly query Looker's semantic layer through the Model Context Protocol standard, eliminating the need for AI to write SQL while maintaining data governance and security controls. Even AI doesn't want to write SQL. The integration works with existing AI developer tools, including Gemini CLI, Claude Desktop, and Cursor, allowing developers to connect AI agents to predefined, trusted data models with complex integration work of risk of data misinterpretation. Unlike general AI database connections, Looker MCP server inherits Looker's security model with fine-grained access controls, audit trails, and the ability to define which AI applications can access specific data at what granularity. Extending Looker's semantic layer capabilities of the AI development ecosystem, particularly valuable for organizations already using Looker for BI, who want consistent data definitions across both analytics and AI applications. Which is great because not having to write Looker reports to get my data is super nice. But also, if Looker is getting more and more capability as well, so that I could actually, from a different system, potentially reach out to Looker and tell Looker to create a report with my pretty dashboards that I love as an executive, and all is right in the world.
I mean, I think that, you're getting both sides with Google Cloud Assist, which I believe you can say, hey, make me a Looker dashboard that does blah. And then this is on the back end where it's you're having your AI agent basically query the data. So you're doing native language queries against your Looker data, which is, if that saves me from having to never write another BI dashboard and figure out the syntax and everything. Oh my God, that'd be awesome. I love it.
Matt's over in Power BI world. Like, I don't know what Looker is.
I'm still wondering what Power BI is half the time, besides Matt swearing at an inanimate object, but that's a different story.
Well, Google is continuing their launch to give all the training away for free. They're launching Accelerate AI with Cloud Run, a global series of free, full-day in-person workshops focused on helping developers move AI prototypes to production using Cloud Run's serverless infrastructure with GPU acceleration. The workshop teaches developers to build secure AI apps using the Model Context Protocol on Cloud Run and Google's Agent Development Kit, ADK, providing hands-on experience with containerization and deployment patterns for production-scale AI agents. AWS's SageMaker workshops and Azure AI bootcamps are also similar training that's been made available. The timing aligns with Google's push to make Cloud Run a primary platform for AI workloads, leveraging its automatic scaling, built-in security, and pay-per-use pricing model that significantly reduces costs compared to dedicated GPU instances. The focus on practical implementation of AI agents with secure tool access through MCP addresses the common challenge developers face when trying to scale AI prototypes beyond proof-of-concept demos. I mean, there's also this whole security situation of MCP, but we'll just gloss over that part.
Who needs security on MCPs? It's so new, no one's going to know how to break into it.
Yeah, see, you allow MCP service access to everything, and then you just, instruct the bot to be secure. So it's fine. It's fine. What could go wrong?
What could go wrong?
Yeah. I mean, I do like this training. I think I took a similar one like forever ago when they first released sort of maybe it's forever ago. My concept of time is just
it was ruined. Like 3 weeks ago. We talked about it on the show.
No.
This is the only reason why Justin knows about it.
Yeah, no. This is specifically the agent development kit.
Oh, okay.
which was before the security one that we talked about on the show. I can't remember how long ago it was, but it was pretty surface level, like, hello world AI chatbot stuff. But it is like, I really do like the sort of structure that you get through the ADK. It really helped me sort of understand how to build sort of a very quick chatbot, and prototype on these things. And so it was really nice to go through that. And I imagine it's even better now because it's, AI. Even if it was 3 weeks ago, it's probably completely different night and day in terms of capabilities.
Maybe we can get Matt to go to the one in October in New York because he's close to that place. Because the one in the Bay Area, unfortunately, is a time when I cannot go. So, but maybe Matt could take one for the team here and go learn about it.
I feel like I will probably not get accepted into it, but I will try.
October 14th. You can do it. You'll be fine.
It's a big sales thing, so I don't think you have to. I don't think there's a bar to get accepted.
Yeah.
I don't think you have to be an active customer. They'll try to sell you on Cloud Run as being awesome. So, which it's not bad. I don't hate Cloud Run. If you like Knative, it's cool. Let's move on to our friends in Redmond with Azure, who's very excited to tell you that they have the GPT OSS on Azure AI Foundry and Windows AI Foundry. Ooh.
Do.
Moving on. Introducing Azure Storage Discovery, transform data management with storage insights. Providing Azure Storage Discovery provides a centralized dashboard to analyze and manage Azure Blob storage across entire organizations, aggregating insights from up to 1 million storage accounts without requiring custom scripts or infrastructure deployment. I mean, I hope you have both of those things for 1 million storage accounts, but that's just me. The service integrates with Azure Copilot for natural language queries and offers both free and standard pricing tiers. The standard tier providing 18 months of historical data retention for analyzing trends in capacity, activity, errors, and security configurations. Early adopters like Tesco and Willis Towers Watson report significant time savings in identifying cost optimization opportunities, such as finding rapidly growing storage accounts and data that has been accessed recently for lifecycle management. The service will be free until September 30th, 2025, so rush out there and use it. Afterwards, pricing will be based on the number of storage accounts and objects analyzed, making it accessible for organizations to evaluate its value before committing to the cost.
I mean, I think this is a feature they had to develop in self-defense because of the way they organized the blob storage with those storage accounts. Because coming from another cloud, like, it's completely undecipherable to me. Like, is it a permissions object? Is it an ownership object? Is it the actual block? I don't know what it is anymore. And from a centralized point of view, running like the Azure cloud, I can only imagine what terribleness it was before this feature to try to figure out your storage footprint over all your subscriptions.
I mean, AWS though had the same problem. So, you had multiple accounts and what it's called storage lens or something like that, where when you had the same issue and trying to figure out what tier things should go in and all that, when you're talking many AWS accounts and you're hoping your developers set the lifecycle policy up correct, which they never do, or you accidentally leave off a lifecycle policy when you design a new thing, that data just lives there forever. So at least something like this will hopefully catch it and tell you. Now the question is it worth an ongoing thing, or is it something that you could look at once a year and take a snapshot and take a look at it at that point?
I mean, it would be the same thing, except for that my S3 bucket doesn't require its own separate API keys to access it, which is what a storage account does. I can't.
SAS tokens, but they life cycle those. They now put extra permissions on those last week that you missed.
Oh,
yeah,
great.
SAS tokens are their own fun disaster. But then I actually wonder with this and I haven't looked into this that much, if it's blob and file share storage, because then that adds a whole new level of complexity where you hate everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Because storage accounts are actually both.
They could be both. That's right.
They could be both, but not together. And then obviously you can't go from premium. I have lots of fun rants today about Azure.
Yeah.
But like I do want to play with this at my day job and kind of see, because this is one of those tools that only will really provide you insight in a production workload, and not, playing with it in a dev account. It really isn't going to provide much.
Yeah. And because you need the large data set to see the data movement and see the trends and see, get your large inventory and then see how it moves and see where your opportunities are. And they're touting in this, the insights a lot. So I think they've built that directly in, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, so by default, you get 15 days of backfill and 15 days of retention. So you have a rolling 15 days, I think. And then for standard, you get the backfill 30 days. So they already have the data. They're just not giving it to you on the free tier. They're just going to hold it hostage. And then retention is 18 months. So I feel like that's kind of the big difference, along with like the trend analysis and things like that. Like I already know my top storage accounts at my day job. And if I didn't know that, I shouldn't be having my job. That would be a terrible life choice for, my upper management.
You just know them because you pay the bill.
And I have to do the analysis every month and, kind of see where it goes. And SQL audit logs might be up there in my top storage spend. But, there's a lot of other stuff that we have that kind of is embedded in different places. So,
well, speaking of logs that you need to have and keep but never use.
Go, Justin.
Go. I was like,
come on, that was a cue.
I was like, there's no word logs in that title. Oh, but then I read a little further on. Like, oh, there's logs in the story. Okay.
So Justin hasn't figured out the way that Ryan and I did this. I tried to go back and forth at one point with Justin. He didn't like it as much. Where like you flip flop, but like that's how Ryan and I would segue when you weren't here. So
nice, well done. Yeah. Well, let me tell you all about Azure Azure Monitor Network Security Perimeter features, which create a virtual firewall at the service level that blocks public access to log analytic workspaces and application insights by default, and only explicitly define traffic through IP ranges or subscription IDs, addressing enterprise demands for zero trust network isolation and monitoring data. I don't even know what that meant, you guys. So I'm like, seriously, it's a firewall to your logs? Like, why do I need this?
No, it's worse.
Ryan, go.
So I was actually trying to set you up for the next story, so this isn't really the one I was going for. But
see now I know
now
why
it makes more sense. Yeah, it's the one. It's the one.
Yeah, it makes more
after.
sense. Yeah, I'm like, that's not the next story I had queued up.
Yeah, I'm an idiot. Sorry, I can't read in a direct line. This is like if you think about your API endpoints, this is security rules for that. So they're touting logs and the log analytics here because those aren't natively available directly within your VPC network in your subscription. So they're just accessible via like a platform service. And so now you can basically put rules around accessing that platform service, which will confuse anyone at all. It won't be difficult to support, and everything will be a permission denied, and they'll just say they don't have permissions, and we'll never figure it out. That's actually because they're missing some sort of weird metadata conditional on their request, and it could be an IP address or a special badge. Who knows?
Yes and no. I mean, so a lot of services already do this. Key vault and other things will access, if you don't have private endpoints, will be public, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. But you can do the IP restrictions based on what you want, whether it's subnet or, if you have a, always on VPN for your company. Mm-hmm. So my understanding was this is just another layer to that in other places.
Okay.
Though I will fully admit I have not read the article at all because I literally got off a plane and we started the podcast.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's exactly what this is the ability to define network rules to those services. So it sounds like it's not the first service, the security perimeter. I'm surprised that it's not more integrated than across. It sounds like there's different, like the vaults is one configuration and now log analytics might be a different one.
Vaults, storage accounts, SQL, they all kind of have these things that can, you can make them quote unquote public, which will flag everywhere, but you can put network access lists, like, NACLs on them and say, cool, they're only accessible from these places, and or your subnets, because a lot of these things existed before they had private endpoints for everything. Mm-hmm. And some things you don't always want running through private endpoints because they'll cost you too much. So, there's a balancing act somewhere in there.
Yeah, so the user behavior will be the make or break on this, because what does it look like when it fails? Do you get a 403 or do you?
Yeah, and then you have to debug why the hell you're getting a 403. Is it your API key? Is it that has died? Is it your IP address? Your always on VPN has failed? Is it you don't have any of those on the storage account? Definitely never ran into any of these issues.
Okay, now moving on to logs. So Azure Monitor auxiliary logs are now generally available with significant price reductions targeting customers addressing petabyte scale logs daily who need cost-effective storage for high-volume, low-fidelity data alongside existing analytics and basic log tiers. The key technical improvements include expanding KQL operator support, Delta Parquet-based storage for better query performance, and unlimited time-range queries, previously only 30 days was allowed, and new ingestion time transformations using data collection rules with KQL expressions. Integration with Microsoft Sentinel Data Lake enables cross access between security and auxiliary workloads without data duplication, positioning Azure to compete with AWS CloudWatch Logs Insights and GCP's Cloud Logging multi-tier storage options. Summary rules, now in general availability, allow efficient data summarization across all log tiers while keeping raw data accessible and enhancing search jobs supported for up to 100 million records with cost reduction capabilities. Target use cases include organizations needing to balance cost and performance for massive log volumes, and with the ability to filter noise and ingestion, split data across tiers, and apply transformations to both custom and platform logs. And first of all, I'd ask, what's an auxiliary log, and why do I care, and why do I have petabytes of them? Because if it's auxiliary, to me, it sounds like I shouldn't even care about it.
Well, because you're legally required to have it. That's why. So it's your firewall logs, it's your SQL Server transaction logs that you are obligated to maintain for whatever time your compliance requires, and that's exactly what this is for. It's a routing layer, which I love, in your existing logging infrastructure, and it just routes these to a low cost, different sort of query method, but it's cheaper and they go away, and that's what I like.
Yeah, 10 cents versus 2 cents a gigabyte.
Yeah,
it's a big price difference.
Yeah. And then, and then you're also not paying for query compute like you would if you're trying to search for in your general logs. You're using sort of, I'm not that familiar with Azure, but it's going to be live data that you're querying, and it can be expensive. And so this is more of sending it off to big storage jobs and you can still get your data, but it's not live. It's not supposed to be. That's pretty cool.
Well, our final Azure story is finally allowing IPv6 inbound traffic to Azure App Service across all public regions, government clouds, and even the China region. Take that, Amazon.
Wow.
For multi-tenant apps on basic, standard, and premium SKUs, plus functions consumption, functions Elastic Premium, and Logic App Standard. The implementation uses a new IP mode property that controls DNS responses. Apps can return IPv4, default for backward compatibility, IPv6 only, or dual stack IPv4, IPv6 addresses. All app service sites can now receive traffic on both IPv4 and IPv6 endpoints, regardless of IP mode setting, which only affects the DNS resolution behavior. This addresses growing IPv6 adoption requirements, particularly for government contracts and international deployments, where IPv6 is, of course, mandatory because they can't get IPv4 because the Americans are stealing all of it. The feature works with custom domains through standard quadruple A DNS records. What do we actually call those? I just made that up. Quadruple A? Is that what you guys call those? Or are those A records to you?
I just say
A.
I like Quad A though.
Quad A, I think is
Quad
better.
A is good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there we go. IPv6 support, no additional cost for your app service. Welcome to 2025 Azure.
Yeah.
They're not that far behind on that one. Only, just solid multiple years behind. So I'll take the win.
Maybe a decade.
No, load balancers on Azure. Yeah, on AWS has been out for a while. So yeah.
Well, first you guys probably remember Oracle Open World. It was around for a long time. It's at Moscone Center.
Yeah.
And then you might have remembered, a few years ago that Oracle finally got religion about cloud and became the Oracle Cloud World. And apparently now for 2025, they've decided to rename it to Oracle AI World, of course.
Yeah.
January 15th in Las Vegas, positioning it as the premier AI conference with keynotes from both Larry Ellison and other key executives focusing on enterprise AI applications. Event will apparently showcase Oracle's AI strategy across their cloud infrastructure applications and database services, with particular emphasis on their OCI generative AI service and AI-powered features in the Oracle Fusion Cloud applications. And I keep going, but it's Oracle. I don't want to talk more about it.
When I first read this article, I thought they were doing another big conference. So I thought it was going to be in addition. And I was just like, why? So I'm glad it's just a renaming of the existing thing. And it's just the overall trend in the industry to put AI into everything. whether it needs it or not.
Okay, so I have a very important question. Do we have to do predictions for Oracle?
No, we don't.
No, absolutely not.
Thank God.
Yeah.
We already fail at the other ones.
Right. Yeah. I would have to. Yeah. I mean, and they always announce like crazy stuff. Like I can't.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you what Oracle's going to announce.
Mhm.
If I was maybe somewhat close, I mean, and if our listeners want to write in predictions in
Yeah.
December, we'll be happy to talk about them. But I'm not close enough to even attempt. I mean, I already feel bad enough about Azure. I can't make up those predictions most of the time either.
To be fair, Ryan won that last time. I'm just saying.
He did. He nailed it out of the park because he's using AI to get better at Azure. That's what he was doing.
Well, that's what I was doing today when I won the predictions was just dumb luck.
Whoever uses that cloud is the one that essentially doesn't win, as I've decided.
It is true.
Because you kind of end up in the I want these features category, not the this is actually plausible. Like this is what they're releasing category.
Yep.
Well, while you were gone in the woods fighting bears, we had a cloud journey where we talked about moving beyond IAM access keys. And so, basically, the gist of this article was that AWS is, pushing developers away from long-term IAM access keys towards temporary credential solutions like Cloud Shell, Identity Center, IAM roles. We started about OIDC, particularly in GitHub Actions. And Cloud Shell, of course, provides the CLI in the browser. And then modern IDEs also have typically modern support. And so, first of all, we were curious because both Matt and I admitted that we had not moved off of access keys for our personal needs because you're not pulling those access keys out of my cold dead fingers. So our first question to you, the security conscious one, was: have you moved off security keys, access keys, Brian, or are you still with us?
So in my personal account, I still have access keys, and that's because I don't maintain my own identity provider.
Yeah.
Right. If I maintained my own identity provider that could validate, or do a token exchange, then it'd be a different thing. If in my professional life, if you
could set up a free Entra AD if you really hate yourself and use that.
Entra AD is not that bad. I didn't know that was free.
I think you can get up to 10 users for free or something like that.
I mean, you could do it in GitHub.
But why wouldn't you just use your Gmail account?
Yeah. But you have to, at that point, have a GitHub workplace.
Yeah, you would have to have a full workplace, and you'd have to set up cloud identity, and then you could set up an identity provider. I guess there's definitely ways that you could do it. Not anything easy that I know of,
or cheap,
or
right.
cheap. Yeah, it basically, for my personal use, it would have to be free because I am very cheap, and I have not set it up for my personal account for that reason.
Makes me want to set up a Windows domain at my house again.
But now, because you talked about Google Workspaces and I remember that I can do that in GitHub as well. I can have it verify AWS's and GitHub app. There's a couple of different things where maybe now I'll do it just out of spite.
Okay. And then our second question for you that we wanted to get your input on was, what do you think about passkeys?
I love passkeys, but I am struggling to adopt them. I've always been a fan of the certificate model of authentication. I'm a big fan of, SSH keys and having SSH agents monitor and put those keys around. And I think that passkeys are very similar in terms of having a public and private certificate side, with an extra layer of validation with either biometrics and also target validation, meaning that they're very specific to URL or domain.
So our specific question was, it feels like it eliminates the need for the second device because most of these passkeys are getting implemented inside of your phone where you already you already are on the phone that you're using to authenticate with, or if you're using 1Password, it's basically right inside of your web browser already, which is the device that you're probably trying to protect. So there was some question. I mean, I was saying I moved passkeys for my AWS MFA because it's so much faster and so much better, but it's also is that more secure or not? I don't know.
I think so. Because I think that, if you think about, where the majority of attacks come from, it's phishing. It's not getting onto your device. It's not stolen laptops anymore. It's that those are the old days where, it's unencrypted at the disk level and people get it. So right now it's people stealing SIM cards and rerouting those MFA prompts or just spear phishing passwords out of people. And so this removes the need for all of it. However, I haven't seen a lot of implementation of passkeys where they're just doing passkey authentication. I see a lot of where it's password and passkey, which I do feel is redundant and needs to go away.
But I guess my question is it really two-factor if everyone has their username and password in the same place?
No, don't think of it as two-factor. It's not. It's not. It's replacing passwords. It's changing to a new method of authentication. It's being implemented as two-factor, which is why it's terrible. But it shouldn't be. Like, eventually you won't enter passwords. You will just have passkeys.
But then you still need two-factor.
No. It's private side certificate authentication.
I mean, if your device gets stolen, then you have access to those certificates, don't you? Technically,
it's not something.
No, because you need the biometrics, and they're only good for the specific domain that they're targeting.
So you could argue it's two-factor because in order to get into but if I cut off Justin's finger and I have his laptop, I guess that's two things I have. I have his biometrics.
I mean, if you're cutting off my finger, you can have my data, okay? Like
that's kind of the way I feel about it. Like you've earned it.
Yeah. The day that I get legitimately spearphished and my data gets stolen, A+ to that person, because I've seen some pretty intelligent attempts. None of them have fooled me. Not that I want to be challenged, but like. It's definitely one of these things.
Hey, Ryan, your day job just got a lot harder. Justin just said, bring it on.
No, please don't bring it on.
No, I won't. And because it's like, no, I feel like there's already a trend in security where we're just making people angry and we're not actually at a certain point with all the phishing exercises and training and stuff. You mean the
recent one that I'm aware of a company that, sent out a phishing email, and then when you reported it as phishing, they then told you it wasn't phishing? You mean that type of upsetness thing? Because I don't know what company did that, but I was super mad about it.
I was also livid. And it's it's becoming a problem, like something that had a very pure start, and tracking metrics has now been corrupted.
But it goes back to compliance for the sake of compliance. We have to say we do these quarterly because that's what our policies state, because that's what our contractors need.
But the problem is that what we've taught people is that you look for bad English and you look for weird logos and URLs and all this stuff. And I've actually complained for years about the Microsoft safe URL filter thing, because it removes the actual URL that you're going to open with a safe link.
Yeah.
So you can't actually validate it. And then, AI has now fixed all the grammar and communication in the thing, and actually can create all the metrics and, fake invoices that look just like PayPal. Like, I see them all the time.
Yeah.
So like, it's not like, the hackers are getting better. They're getting the same tools we are. So I get why like phishing testing is having to get more sophisticated. But I mean, like, relying so much on the end user is probably part of the flaw if you're taking away all the tools that you've been teaching them for 10 years to solve the problem.
Yeah. Well, and that's the issue, right? Is that people are getting reliant on phishing tools, right? And so like they're not being as vigilant about sussing something out of like being legitimate or not. They just run it through whatever tool their company has provided them, and then they get home and they lose their personal credentials, right? Because there's not a tool for that. They don't have an IT department that's trying to look out for them, and it's gotten a little corrupted, the whole phishing. But it's also, I think this is also why you're seeing things like passkeys, because like I think that passwords are have to go away.
I mean, passwords are terrible. I mean, I love passkeys.
They have to go away. Yeah.
But I mean, even like when you use Amazon passkey with your AWS account, you still have a password.
I know. Yeah. A lot. And that's, I don't like that part. I do think potentially that will go away, but probably not.
It makes me laugh because I get, alerts and things about password, username passwords and things that get corrupt, get hacked out of the market. And then, basically my default is I turn on two-factor for everything. So even when a like really dumb password of mine has gotten exposed, like it's not a big risk to me because I have two-factor authentication on it. So like, it's definitely interesting, but it's hard work out there. I mean, I don't envy security trying to teach users about security in this AI driven world when everything looks legitimate.
And AI in all the phishing campaign tools, it's such a big push and it does such a good job. such a good job at spoofing things, and it'll do things that just by like changing one character or white space, in a domain thing. And it's just like there's stuff like that. And it's and then the AI is also it's personalizing the attacks, and then it's also making them harder based off of your input as well, right? So it's like if you continuously get a good score, it's gonna continue to get harder until it gets you. And I'm like, that's not cool. Like, I don't like that. We don't need to make it harder. Like, we're not trying to test our users till they break. We're trying to teach them good principles, like,
well, and the reality is most of the really basic phishing attacks have moved into trying to catch you on text messages now, like, hey, this is PG&E, or overdoing your bill, you must pay your bill immediately, push this link. That's going after the consumers who weren't very educated on email security to begin with.
100%.
The problem with the corporate side is that if you're targeted by a hacker group, they are going to spearfish the crap out of you, and they can highly target based on just the data that's available on the internet. I mean, the three of us, we're all on a podcast. Like, I get LinkedIn posts now where people are like, hey, I was listening to your podcast the other day, and I heard your really interesting conversation about this thing. I'd love to talk to you about and like, I mean, like, we're putting a lot of information out into the world. We used to do it all the time with Facebook and stuff too, although all of us have gotten off that crap. But the world, like, we give so much information that these threat actors can definitely, if they're targeting you, the chances of them getting in is pretty darn high. And that's the bigger threat for security to deal with versus worrying about passwords and MFA. So, I mean, I definitely am very happy with the passkey world. But I definitely, think that security is going to have to figure out a different way to do awareness, because I think it's too complicated now, and it's sophisticated. So,
well,
anyway,
security and layers is really what it's going to be. Great. They did get into Justin's corporate account, but can we see and can we stop them quickly? I feel like that's really
they got into his corporate account, but to get into anything real, it's just in time things and requires an approval flow, right? Like we got to get to that point where we don't have standing permissions to things, and we have those areas of containment.
Right, and that's going to be the real thing, because it's not at this point of when your company gets hacked. It's not if, it's when it's going to get hacked at this point. Because all of our corporations are targets, whether we care or not.
Yeah, well, they're all under constant attack already, right? Like, it's every day.
We have a WAF app that we have installed on the Cloud Pod. I get emails multiple times a day about increased attacks on the thing, and like, they're I don't want to block it because again, it's our podcast. But if it was a personal thing, I would definitely block that stuff. But we want people from Russia to be able to download the podcast if they wish to. I don't know how to say hello in Russian, but sure. Just imagine I said it. But it's definitely one of these things where there's opportunity, but like, to give that opportunity to the world, you're also taking a huge security risk. And to do that, and again, like, it's WordPress, so like, you patched regularly. But I definitely have been thinking a lot more about like, maybe it's time to move to a static hosting site. And we already have our, CastOS already hosts our podcast for us, because it was so much bandwidth that I didn't want to pay Amazon for. So, using a static site is now dramatically easier than it was when I started the podcast. So, there's opportunity there too. But like, I'm rethinking how I think about apps and how I want to deploy them with some of these realities. So, well, gentlemen, unless you have anything to add, Ryan, sorry.
No. This is a long show. We got to wrap it up.
I think we should go. Well, it's been a fantastic week. Good to catch up with you again, Ryan. And we will talk to you both the next week here in the cloud.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
And that's all for this week in cloud. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Archera. Be sure to click the link in our show notes to learn more about their services. While you're at it, head over to our website at thecloudpod.net, where you can subscribe to our newsletter, join our Slack community, send us your feedback, and ask any questions you might have. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.